I'm here with Wendy Steinle. She works at Novell. What's your function?
I'm the marketing director for Novell Pulse.
And since when are you working with Pulse? Because I think you are working with Pulse already.
Yes, I've actually been working with Pulse since the conception of it about a year and a half ago, when we started recognizing that there was a market need to bring a new way for people to collaborate. And so we were at that time doing business development, research, that sort of thing. And it was last November when we did the first public announcement of Pulse. And we're pleased that right now we're just at the time of getting our first technical preview out.
Are you using it internally already?
Yes, we are using Pulse internally, and it has been a real time saver. For instance, even on our Pulse core team, the team that's working to bring this product to market, we use it for conversations, for meeting minutes where we have agendas, and that turns into real-time status updates. I'm getting feedback on customer presentations, things I'm building. I attach those into Pulse, and then people swarm around them and comment. So it's really giving us a better way to get our work done faster and better in the end.
Most people that haven't used Novell Pulse would think of Google Wave with a Novell branding on it or something like that. But what's the difference with Google Wave or how they announce that?
Sure. Well, Novell Pulse brings together a couple of things that are not in Google Wave. First of all, we do have in common the real-time co-editing function, and in fact, Novell's using the Wave Federation protocol to ensure that people who use Google Wave and people who use Novell Pulse can communicate together and co-edit documents in real time. That's essentially the same functionality you're accustomed to with different email platforms working together. We feel that you should have that flexibility with real time. That's the first thing that we have very much in common. Novell Pulse has a couple of things that Wave does not have. Number one, we bring in social networking into the tool, which is important because the social is just one aspect of collaboration, and people can do their best work when they can bring together the right people with the conversations and files that they're working on. So again, we have social networking, we have real-time authoring, we have real-time communication, and also the ability to work with files, which we know in the enterprise and organizations, files aren't going away anytime soon. The last piece that we bring, because we know that our customers are going to need this, is very intensive policy-based security, so that you can choose visibility and access of groups and messages, and you can also connect with enterprise identity and security systems through SAML and LDAP.
It's really different than the tools you already use normally, or like in the past 5 years or 10 years in IT and in identity management, and collaboration. How do you think people will react to it at first? Because it's completely different seeing a real-time stream of things that's happening right now at your company, for example. How do you think people will react to it at first? Not on the long term, but at first.
Well, it's interesting because it's actually people like us who are screaming for these tools inside the enterprise. If you think about it, almost everybody has experience now with Facebook or Twitter or some type of new social tools. And what we're seeing is that those people are bringing those tools into the enterprise under the IT radar, because they have that experience in their social lives, and they are starting to envision how that can enrich their work experience. So then IT has the challenge of, A, do they let those tools come in under the radar that may not have the proper security and controls for their compliance purposes, or B, do they want to find a tool that meets the end user's need and meets IT's need for security? So back to your question, users really are asking for this sort of thing. But on the other hand, for them to truly adopt all the functionality of it, including the real-time co-editing, it will require a behavior change from what people are doing today. And we are seeing that the more we can do to share use cases, to give people a view of how they could themselves use this in their day-to-day work, that gives people that spark of the idea that says, oh, I see how I might use this. I'm a salesperson. I could get benchmark best practices on how to create the best sales pitch to win a certain deal. Or I'm a customer service representative and I could post a message on a feed and people swarm around it and I can solve the problem for my customer even faster. And so use cases like this come up and then people will begin to try it.
it's still a big step from using Microsoft Word to online collaboration with coworkers and documents. So I think it's a big leap, and having no macros like the standard, they don't know how to use word editing, for example. At first in Google Wave it was really hard to make a proper document. How do you think that people that move from Microsoft Word to Novell Pulse will actually look at it? Doesn't it seem like a real step back at first?
I think that there are going to be some use cases where the editing capabilities in Novell Pulse make perfect sense. There will still be some use cases for the time being that make sense to continue using files. But even in those cases where you're using other files, there is collaboration that has to happen around them. And in Novell Pulse, you're able to have all relevant conversations, chats, files, and maybe real-time documents in one place in context of the group or people with whom you're working. And so while files aren't going to go away, the course of getting to that end result can be easier and richer when you don't have to jump out of your focus on the business problem just to jump from tool to tool. With Novell Pulse, it brings all those things together. So again, you can bring files into Novell Pulse. We also know that people will find certain use cases where a more simple real-time co-editing document is sufficient for what they need to accomplish.
Novell Pulse is based on the Google Wave protocol, and it's a federated protocol. Everybody can use it. Everybody can set up a server to use it. How do you think people can use Novell Pulse and use different applications using Google Wave as well? Is it possible at first?
Absolutely. In fact, in a scenario where you're working with outside partners, that's the most likely case where people might be using a different platform or tool. And we know that that will happen, and that's why both Novell and Google believe in federation so strongly, that people need to be able to choose the tools that they want to use, but still be able to work together and be fluid with that work. So with Novell Pulse, say you're working with a partner who's using Google Wave, you can invite Wave users into a Novell Pulse message or document as easily as you would invite anybody else, and the real-time co-editing works across the document and any of the gadgets. So you're right, we do use Wave Federation Protocol. We're also using their APIs so that the gadgets and robots that are being created for Google Wave also work in Novell Pulse.
And the security that's used in Novell Pulse is not always in Google Wave. So how do you transfer that security to a Google Wave user? Is it possible?
The products are different. Novell Pulse includes very robust policy-based controls and connections with identity, security, and provisioning systems. And the products are different. And we are putting those types of controls into Novell Pulse for people who need that sort of thing, who need the real-time capabilities, the social networking capabilities, but also need those controls. So we would, of course, urge people to use Novell Pulse if that's what you're looking for.
Maybe the last question. Novell Pulse, I think there are lots of use cases for it, but how is Novell going to sell these to customers? What do they have to give up to use Novell Pulse, or what's the reason to use it at first? What's the big reason to use it?
The big reason is that companies need to provide a way to make collaboration easier for people. We're in a time where competitive pressures are so strong that it's time for technology to step up and give people a way to work that works for them, instead of forcing people into a way to work that the technology wants you to work. And Novell Pulse provides that new way, enabling people to collaborate with conversations, files, social networking in a context that makes sense for them. So it's time for companies to find a way to help people get their work done better and faster, and Novell Pulse does that.
Thank you.